Andrew McKenna. I'm a partner at Smith Williamson, which is an accounting and tax firm based in the UK.
Right, Andrew, so obviously you're here at the Arab Business Association tax seminar, covering a lot of issues about tax and how financial institutions can cope. How did you find it?
Very enjoyable. Obviously always tight for time on these things, but we got some, good audience interaction, and it probably leads or paves the way for some discussions in the future when people need more detail. But hopefully we've put a few issues on the table that they can go away and think over for the client base and for some people for themselves.
The wider theme that I got from the seminar was, you can run but you can't hide. There's so much intergovernmental work happening and various organisations working together now. I guess people can't run, can they?
No, I think what we're seeing is sort of the world becoming a place where there's nowhere to hide in terms of people hiding assets, funds, evading or avoiding tax, if you like, not declaring it to the country which they're resident in. It's going to take time. It's not going to happen all overnight, and a lot of it is sort of good headline grabbing from the tax agency. But they are actually making real moves, particularly when we've had the current economic climate, the impact on the banks, and the OECD and others looking to ensure that they seize the day, if you like, where the opportunities now is to move a lot more tax transparency issues along, which have been labouring in the past.
Was there any sort of incentive or motive, should I say, to speak to bankers from the Arab world or, for an Arab audience?
Well, obviously, there's a lot of wealth in that area of the Middle East. There's a lot of wealth that's invested into the UK and into Europe and indeed into America. There's also a lot of wealth going into the Middle East as well, because it's a massively developing area. Some of the countries are trying to develop and have already developed financial centres. And I think the issue with money circulating so freely and being invested in property and developments, it just means that everybody's trying to take their bit of the pot. And certainly with the wealth in the Middle East, we've seen a lot of investment in the UK. And in fact, they're really sort of helping the UK economy, to be blunt, with their investment, with the property interest, with business here. So the UK is trying to take some money off them, which maybe they don't have to pay, maybe they do. It will depend on the circumstances. But obviously getting it right will mean that it's compliant going forward, and that's the best way, because if you don't, the penalties can be quite harsh.
So people are being told, obviously, to come clean before we come and get you, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. If you've got a problem and you're in the UK and it's a worldwide problem, put it right. You could use the Liechtenstein facility. But I think more importantly, for investors coming into the UK or who are here and they're becoming more expansive in what they're doing, the key thing for them is to do it right, to be compliant. Like Kevin said at the end, make sure you record what you're doing, capture it, and if anybody does come along and ask questions in the future, because it's usually 2 years down the line, you can answer it, support it, and show to the UK or any other revenue authority that you've done it right.
The one thing I've noticed is that there's a pressure on banks as well. Being told that there'll be a 30% charge, blah blah blah, on the holdings as well. So that in itself, I think, is for them a bit of an incentive to hand over information and cooperate with the authorities. Yeah,
at the end of the day, if you look at anything, there's always a pinch point. Banks, the money's got to go through the banks. They've got to borrow money from banks. There's a lot of interaction. So the revenue authorities are now catching on. If you want to get information, don't come and try and get it from each individual. Go to where there's a big source for that information, and that's banks, that's land registry for public information, other areas like that.
Thanks so much for your time, Andrew.
Thanks very much.
Today's seminar about tax in particular, focusing on tax and legal matters as well. How did it go?
Very well. This is the second of our seminars on tax this year. Very well received. The earlier one was specifically on residential properties, and that was exceptionally well attended. This one too. This one is broader. My main aim was to raise the alertness of bank managers and their clients to the need to pay attention to a lot of forthcoming legislation that is rather complex in nature and will affect their business directly. Arab banks in London have an important client base. The client base is, they are affected, their client base is affected. They do have to take measures. They do have to understand what they're facing. As you can see today, the session was quite lively, lots of questions, and I think there'll be lots of follow-up to this.
And the panelists who spoke,
were excellent.
seemed to be speaking in layman terms and helping people understand. I mean, informative is the key, isn't it?
Yes, it was, and the idea was to give people just a feeling as to it's sort of a look through the window as to what is happening outside the walls, and what's happening outside the walls is really quite significant, and there is no way out of understanding. You can't hide. You have to understand and face it and deal with it, and. If nothing else, perhaps the seminar have alerted people to the need to go and look for help. That was very important.
Clients aside, obviously these banks have clients. Yeah. The banks themselves are also under pressure, aren't they, to deliver?
Absolutely. The banks are acting, pardon the word, they're going to be the policemen for the state. They are going to look for the U.S. citizen, for example, and tell the authorities about him, assuming he does not tell them himself. And they're being asked to act as policemen. Look at does he have a brother in America? Does he travel here? You understand.
Let's have a quick chat about the Arab Bankers Association. What sort of a 2012 was it, and what's planned for this year? 2012
was a great year. It was a year when we started awarding at our gala dinner the Banker of the Year. In fact, the Distinguished Service Award, if you want to call it, to an Arab banker, not necessarily an Arab, but a banker in the Arab world. We awarded our first such. We gave our first. We gave our first such award to Mike Tomlin, the Chief Executive of the National Bank of Abu Dhabi. We already know who the second recipient is going to be this year. It's going to be in October, and it will not be a big surprise. It's a leading Arab banker, a man who built a large institution in the Middle East. Our iftars were well attended. All our events went very, very well. Particularly well attended was a seminar on Egypt led by the National Bank of Egypt Chairman Mr. Tariq Amr. There were other good moments last year. There will be many, I hope, this year too.
Anything planned in the future in particular?
Yes, we have something immediately following this one. It's going to be a geopolitical. It's a seminar on geopolitics led by on the 7th of March. Led by Lord Lamont, and the speakers are going to be Lord Lamont and Patrick Seal, and there could be another panelist too.
Mr. Kanaan, we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.